Hi gang, this is Dan at MoviesAndFx.com. Today I was looking through some of history, time gone by, and I saw some photos of Machu Picchu when I was in Peru, and I thought, why don't I do something and make a nice slideshow out of this? Well, the problem is, how do you take this and turn it into a slideshow? That's what we're going to do today. Okay, here we are with Photoshop opened. And I have a little folder over here that has a lot of my pictures in it. As you can see, I scanned them in two at a time. Which, by the way, let me call your attention to this. I'm not sure about your perspective. With my perspective, I use a ScanJet 5590 made by Hewlett Packard, and I find their software particularly frustrating. What I went out and did was research another software called BueScan, BueScan, and I used that to operate my scanner and love it, just love it. So I'd highly recommend, if you're frustrated with Hewlett Packard software running your scanner, that you go check out BueScan and give it a try. I've had it for quite a while, but I think they have a free trial and that sort of thing, so give her a look. Now, we have some interesting photos here. I think what we'll do, they scanned in as TIFF files. And what I want to do, let me take this picture right here. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to turn it into two photographs. I'll drag it into Photoshop first. As it is right now, there's not a whole lot I can do with it. First thing I need to do is I'll unlock my layer. I'll go over here and pick my select tool. I want a regular rectangular marquee tool. I will draw a marquee. I got to get rid of this fixed ratio here. I used this last time for something else. So I'll draw myself a rectangular marquee, and I will go to Layer, New, Layer via Copy. And I will put that photograph on a new layer. I will do the same thing to this photograph right here. Layer via copy. Whoops. I got the error message because I'm still up on layer 1, and as you can see, there is nothing at the bottom there, so I need to go back to my original image. Now I can try it. Layer new, layer via copy. And now I have new layers. If I turn off this original layer, you can see that these two pictures are on their own layer. However, they still present into problems for us because I need to fix them separately. So let me duplicate these layers and make them their own file. I'm going to call this one a new file, and I'm going to call it sacrificial table, because that's what it is. They used to lay people, predominantly women, if not that, then captives on this and kill them as a sacrifice to the gods. The Incas didn't think about that too much. Machu Picchu, if you don't know this, I'm going to crop this to a size I can work with. Machu Picchu was a temple. It was a place of worship to the ancient Incas. And it's amazing. You'll see in some of these photographs the architecture. It's amazing they got all this up there. It's about at 8,500 feet in Peru. And as we get through these pictures, not all of which I will put you through this process of fixing, but once we get to the slideshow, you'll be quite amazed that they got a lot of this done the way that they did it. Anyway, back to the picture. First thing I'd like to do is I need to go look at the image, and I want to go look at my levels command because I want to see my sense of light and dark. One of the things I find quite handy is actually pressing the auto button and doing auto levels and letting the software give it the first shot. That's not bad. That's not bad. I think my gamma, my midtones need to be touched up just a little bit, but auto does a good job. So I'll leave it with that. Next thing I'm going to do is go up in image adjustments, and I'm going to go into brightness and contrast. And it too has an auto button. I'm going to click that and let it automatically decide what the contrast should be and the brightness. It likes it like it is. I don't. So let me look at brightness and contrast. I want this to be, I want more contrast in this. And just brightness may be okay. But look how I'm playing with contrast. See how I'm going from low contrast to high contrast? See what it's doing to my shadows? I need to be careful I don't blow some of this stuff out back here, because the next thing I'm going to do, now I have contrast. It's a little too bright still. I got the contrast the way I want it. I'm going to go up here and make one more adjustment, and I'm going to look at my color balance. Now this one gets a little tricky, but notice you can do shadows, midtones, and highlights. And what I have in here is a lot of dirt that's been turned into rocks. Basically that's red. I'd like to see some more of that. So I'm going to take my midtones on over a touch to the red. I'm going to take my shadows. I'm going to look at the red first. Go back to 0. Now I'm going to go over and look at the blue. After all, shadows are blue. 13 is a little much. Let me try 7. And what I want to have happen is I want these mortar joints. I call them mortar joints, but in a lot of this, there is no mortar in these joints. They just have these rocks stacked on each other. You'll see more of that later. Now I'll go to my highlights. I don't want any red here. What I want here is I want to look at this grass in the background. Let me go back to my midtones, maybe get some green up there. There we go. I'm going to end up having to go back to brightness and take that down a touch, because as you can see over here, I'm still blowing out a little bit. And there we go. And this is really what you have to do in the sense of tweaking these things. You take and you'll play with it. But now we're starting to see, we've changed the color a little bit. We've changed the contrast a little bit. Let's see what auto does one more time after I've made those other changes. Well, again, this time I don't like auto. So I'm going to blow my brightness down a little bit. Not too much, or I'll lose all this over here. And let's take the contrast. I like to take contrast and brightness and just throw them out to extremes and then bring them back in. There we go. One picture down and one to go, although this could use some sharpening, don't you think? Go over here to filter, sharpen, smart sharpen, and let's look at these rocks here. You can see the dirt and the mortar they have on these. I'll show you some rocks before it's over with that they don't use mortar, but it's amazing how they put these things together. I'm going to 200% I like for a lot of things. We'll bring it way down. Look at it. Lens blur is what I want to take out of this. Bring the reduce noise way up. Work on my shadows. I have a lock on the highlights. I'm going to take that down. Take down my tonal width on the highlights. There we go. Now we're starting to see some stuff. I want the tonal width on the shadows to be high. It's going to rebuild the image for me. Sharpen, I like to use Smart Sharpen because I have a lot more control over it. As you can already see, we've got a lot of range here, a lot of tonal range. I've got darks way down here, and I've got the sun shining right here. The sacrificial bed, which is really supposed to be the center of interest, is a little bit overtaken. Okay, Smart Sharpen has finished, and we're back. And as you can see, I got a little bit of left over down at the bottom here from the crop tool. What I'm going to do is do a transform and scale this up just a touch. So we'll go to transform scale and just ever so slightly bring this down, hit return to accept it, and now we've got our image. Now for the other image, same thing, go and push it on its own layer, duplicate layer, create a new file, and we're going to call this wide shot. And do a lot of similar things in the beginning. We're going to crop it down. It's like, as you can see, these are all separate files now, by the way. See, there's this, there's wide shot, there's the original. They're all in separate tabs. Crop this down thusly. And now, again, go to levels first. Image adjustments levels. I'm going to go to the auto command, give it auto levels to start with. Pretty good, pretty good. I like this up in the top. I got good gamma down here. I don't like the way it's clipped off my shadows down at below because I want those houses and buildings to appear. So let's start with that on levels. And now I think the brightness and contrast is about as good as we're going to get it. I do want to go over to my color balance and take a look at that in my mid-range. I want to get the greens in there a little deeper. Ooh, look at that. That looks really nice. And we'll leave the blues alone. Now for my highlights, let's see if we can get a deeper sky. Shadows. I'll take these shadows to the reds. Now I think we're about done. I'm going to transform it. I'm going to use the command T because it's a shortcut to scale this up just a touch. You can go to the edit menu and find transform and scale. Hit return to accept that. And we can see, zoom in just a little bit. Look at these houses down here. I think I'll sharpen this a little bit. If you look at some of these houses, Machu Picchu is quite a large place. So I'll go up under Filter, Sharpen, Smart Sharpen, And I'll select a house. Let me select this house right here. Okay, I've taken all of these scans now, and I processed them with Photoshop to create PSD files. And let's look at some of the differences. You can see I have a lot more vibrance right here, a lot more detail. This one looks more three-dimensional. This one was tougher. As you can see, this one still has a bit of a red tint to it, where it's blown out over to the right here, the original scan. Some of these work out better than others. One of the ones that I really want to show you is the two that we worked on. Let me go down to find them. Well, before I do that, look at this right here. See how much more vibrance? And look at this color right through here. See how on the other one? Now I have detail. I let that be blown out when I fixed it because I want this center of interest right here and the mortar joints and the rock to really show up. I don't care about this mountain in the background. Had I the whole thing to do over again, I would have changed the depth of field so this was all faded out anyway. I'm happy to blow it out. I don't need to see it as I see it right here. And I'm real happy with this result. This one I could blow up. Blow up as in enlarge. There's another particularly good one. Here's the one we worked on, sacrificial table. As you can see, these down here, as big as we're going to get them. We can see more detail in the table itself. Also looking at this versus looking over at the Photoshop file, we have a bluer sky, we have greener grass, and we're going to have more clarity when you go to look at the terraces. Now I'm going to put all this together into a slideshow, put her up on YouTube, and let you see the result. Well, now that we've put together the slideshow, let's look at it. I'll make it a different YouTube video so that this one doesn't become extraordinarily long, and you can take a look at that. This is Dan at MoviesAndFx.com. Until next time, so long.